Senator Hunt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I became activated listening this morning to our colleagues talking about regional care facilities and long-term care centers and secure mental health care. I have no problem with LB 697, and I want to thank my friend Senator Pansing Brooks for acknowledging Women's Day today. I think it is a very special day, and it's very important to acknowledge how far women and all women have come for representation here in Nebraska. Speaking about incarceration and the problem with that, I think that we look at it so myopically. And I have a problem with incarceration when we use it as a way to put people away who we have failed as a society. When we have problems with our schools, problems with poverty, problems with access to food and affordable housing, problems with our healthcare system. These are some of the things that drive people into incarceration. And then we look at them and say, oh wow, people are really committing a lot of crimes. We're gonna have to find new little drawers to put them in. We're gonna have to build new buildings to lock them in, without looking at the underlying causes that we in this body, colleagues, are responsible for. The United States has 2.5 million people behind bars, and that's more per capita than anywhere else in the world. Since 1970, the US prison population has raised 700%. That's the most in the history of our country. Do you think that people are breaking more laws now? I don't really think that's the case. I don't think that people are worse people now than they've ever been. I think that we have a carceral system that we don't question, that we continue to strengthen. We continue to give law enforcement officers the resources and the reasons to round these people up and glorify them for it. And then when we do have people with legit mental health problems, we look for a new way to lock them up too, instead of addressing those underlying problems that we know they have. 1 out of every 99 adults in this country are behind bars, and 1 out of every 31 adults is under some kind of carceral surveillance, whether that's parole or probation or post-release supervision. And we cannot look myopically at the prison system itself to reform the prison system. It's the school systems, it's the healthcare system, it's the military complex. It's informed by dozens of systems that, colleagues, we don't question either. We don't question those other systems either. And what activated me to speak was when we started talking about mental health. We have a mental health crisis in this country, crisis in this state, crisis in this city, in every single one of our cities. With people who are incarcerated, with people who are homeless on the streets, with our children, with our neighbors. An emergency that I'm very concerned about is the fact that 1 in 5 transgender and non-binary youth attempted to take their own lives last year. All I want for trans kids is that they grow into trans adults, that they become happy trans adults. And that's all I want for anyone in the LGBTQ community, anyone in Nebraska at all.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Trans and non-binary people exist all over the world. They have throughout history. In every nationality and race and ethnicity and culture and country and religion, they've always existed. And they've been accepted differently by their different cultures. And in our culture, we choose to treat them as disposable. But through thousands of years of history, all over the globe, in every culture, you can find trans and non-binary people. I want to talk about Milo Winslow, who is a transgender member of our community, a transgender neighbor of ours here in Lincoln, who took his life last Thursday. And him taking his life in Lincoln is a direct consequence of organizations and lawmakers who weaponize transphobia and homophobia.
That's time, Senator. Senator, you're next in the queue. You may continue. There's only 2 minutes left in this particular debate.
Thank you. This is the direct consequences of organizations and lawmakers who have weaponized transphobia and homophobia for political reasons. When you look at Milo Winslow's final social media posts, they reflect a man who was tortured by the political war being waged in his city around the fairness ordinance here in Lincoln, around the fight ramping up around his right to exist in his own city. On my next opportunity, I'll read that letter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, my whole time in this legislature, 4 years, I almost never get nervous speaking. I never shake, I never worry, I never wonder if I'm going to say the right thing, and I feel myself overcome with anxiety, almost dizzy with anxiety, talking about this issue, because this is something more than maybe anything I've ever spoken about here is so personal to me and so important to me. Milo Winslow, who took his life last Thursday, a trans man here in Lincoln, his final social media posts show how tortured he was by the division in this city that has been drummed up by hateful anti-trans people among us, and we are responsible for that. We have something to do with that, colleagues. The last thing he wrote was, "It hasn't even been a week since the Lincoln City Council passed the Title IX changes, but honestly it feels like it's been much longer. I am already repeatedly questioning how vocally I want to be involved, while also knowing full well that this isn't a fight I will have the luxury of sitting out. I'm angry that it's a fight we're having. I'm angry at the far right for weaponizing trans feminine people for their agenda. I'm angry at the dehumanizing language they use in their flyers. I'm angry at their forcing and their religious ideologies onto others in the most hateful and vile ways. I'm angry that not even a week in, and I've already been intentionally misgendered in conversations about it and told my experience is, quote, an affront to God, because it's only going to get worse from here. Mostly, though," he says, "I'm angry at the political move that brought us here, a move made during midterms, a move made without the financial resources to back it up, a move made when less than 3 years ago polling said it wouldn't pass, a move made after multiple queer and trans advocates begged for it not to be made. I'm angry that this was done without a plan and with the necks of transgender people, mostly trans feminine people, on the line. I'm angry that I now have to reckon with not trusting local politicians that I once felt I could trust." And he went on to say that he was going to make his account private and take some time to work on his mental health. Colleagues, mental health. You can't solve every mental health problem by locking somebody up, by building another prison, by building another regional center, by putting another bed in a room where you can call someone crazy and make a nurse look after them, if you can even hire a nurse in this state anymore. Some of these problems you can just fix by being freaking nice to people. Some of these problems you can fix by making sure people aren't starving. I have a bill to say that if you have ever had a drug conviction, you can get food assistance if you qualify for it. Almost every other state has a law like this, but no, in Nebraska, that's too soft on crime. Okay, well, what are you going to do for their mental health then when they're starving, when they can't take care of their families? I never get like this. Milo Winslow's life could have been saved. He deserved better in his life. Lincoln, he deserved better from you. Colleagues, he deserved better from us. And the trans people who are with us today still, by the grace of your God, their friends and their families who love them and care for them, and our entire community that is made better by their existence, whether you like it or not.
1 minute.
They are begging us to open our hearts. Look at the teachings of your Jesus and apply it to someone you don't agree with, who you don't understand. until it's your child or your friend or someone you know, and then you say, well, not you, I didn't mean you. I meant those perverts, the other people I'm talking about. These people could be your children. Cleanse the hate from your heart and mind your business. It will save a life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks, Senator Hunt.